It was a dark and stormy night when Lisa arrived at Craven Hall, the oldest dormitory on campus. Rain poured down in sheets, and thunder rumbled ominously. As she dragged her suitcase through the front doors. The hallway lights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Lisa had been excited to start her college journey, but something about Craven Hall felt off. The building had an oppressive atmosphere, like it was holding its breath. Lisa brushed off the unease and made her way to her assigned room, 13B. She hesitated for a moment, then turned the key and pushed open the door. The room was dark, cold, and unwelcoming, with a strange, musty smell. "Great, just my luck," Lisa muttered as she stepped inside. She flicked on the light, revealing an old, worn-out bed, a small desk, and a closet. Trying to shake off the eerie feeling, she began to unpack. As she placed her clothes in the closet, her hand brushed against something. Pulling it out, she saw it was an old, dusty diary. Curiosity piqued. Lisa sat on her bed and began to flip through the diary. The pages were yellowed with age, and the handwriting was neat, but increasingly frantic as the entries went on. The diary belonged to a girl named Sarah, who had lived in room 13B 5 years ago. At first, Sarah's entries were typical. Notes about classes, friends, and everyday life. But then, things took a darker turn. Lisa's eyes widened as she read, October 12th. I hear whispers at night. They call my name. The darkness. It's suffocating. I can't sleep. I'm scared. October 20th. Something is in this room with me. I feel it watching. The shadows move on their own. I'm not alone. November 2nd. I saw her tonight. A girl, pale and cold, standing at the foot of my bed. She whispered my name. I'm terrified. Lisa shivered and closed the diary. The air in the room felt heavier, and she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. She placed the diary on her desk, trying to dismiss the unsettling entries as mere imagination. That night, Lisa lay in bed, trying to sleep. The room was bathed in the pale light of the moon filtering through the window. She checked the clock. Just as she was about to drift off, she heard it. A soft whisper, barely audible. Lisa. Lisa. Her eyes shot open and her heart raced. She looked around the room but saw nothing. The whispering grew louder, more insistent. She sat up, her breath quickening, and strained to listen. Lisa! The voice was coming from the closet. She stared at the closed door, frozen with fear. Suddenly, the door creaked open on its own. And a dark figure slowly emerged from the shadows. Determined to find out what was happening, Lisa spent the next day at the campus library, digging through old newspapers and records. She discovered that room 13B had a dark history. Over the years, several students had reported strange occurrences, and some had even disappeared without a trace. One article stood out. A girl named Sarah Thompson had vanished from room 13B 5 years ago. Her disappearance was never solved. As Lisa read, she found more reports of paranormal activities. Objects moving on their own, ghostly apparitions, and mysterious handprints on the walls. The librarian, an elderly woman with a knowing look in her eyes, approached Lisa. They say the room is cursed, she whispered, haunted by the spirit of a girl who died there many years ago. That night, back in her dorm room, Lisa decided to confront whatever was haunting her. She set up a camera to record and waited. Midnight approached, and the room grew colder. Lisa could see her breath in the air. The clock struck 12, and the camera captured the moment the ghostly figure appeared. It was a girl, pale and tormented, her eyes hollow and full of sorrow. Lisa stood her ground, clutching the diary. "What do you want from me?" Lisa's voice trembled as she spoke. The ghost pointed to the diary with a bony finger. "Set me free," she whispered, her voice echoing with despair. Lisa realized that Sarah's spirit was trapped, seeking release from her torment. She had to find a way to help her. Lisa researched how to perform a cleansing ritual. She gathered candles, salt, and sage, determined to set Sarah's spirit free. She drew a circle of salt around herself and placed the candles at each point of the circle. With a deep breath, she lit the sage and began to chant softly.
Pidi bas etigin, buhainin, ilaguse, tod efalaya, stekton, ideh, farambi, gach atol, bidit fran, hamachinakis, kunamai.
The room grew darker, the air thicker, as the ghostly presence intensified. Objects began to fly around the room, and Lisa's face was pale but determined. She continued the ritual, her voice unwavering. "No!" the ghost screamed, her voice filled with anguish. Lisa felt a cold hand grasp her shoulder, but she didn't stop. She chanted louder, the words gaining power. Finally, a blinding light filled the room, and the ghost let out a final, agonizing scream before vanishing. Exhausted but relieved, Lisa sat on her bed. The room felt different, warmer, more inviting. She looked around, noticing that the oppressive atmosphere was gone. The curse had been lifted. Sarah was finally at peace, and Lisa could move on with her life. She smiled softly and looked at the diary one last time before placing it in a box. As she closed the lid, she felt a sense of closure. The next day, the sun rose over the campus, casting a warm glow over Craven Hall. The building seemed less foreboding, almost welcoming. But Lisa knew that the horrors of Craven Hall would never be forgotten. Room 13B remained, waiting for the next unsuspecting victim. Remember, some stories are more than just tales. They are warnings. Be careful where you choose to rest your head, especially in places with dark histories. And that, my friends, is the story of the haunting of dorm room 13B. Sleep tight and don't let the ghosts bite.